The tip this week is about how to seam seed stitch, and this was a request. The reason this is in the master's program, and the reason why it is to show you that you need to be aware when dealing with different types of stitch patterns, of which seed stitch is an example, that you need to make sure that the stitch pattern continues on one side of the seam to the other. Now with seed stitch, the first thing to check is that you have a multiple of 2. And by the way, this is not good looking seed stitch. I've knit these on very large needles so you can see the stitches. So with a multiple of 2, that means that I begin with a knit, purl, and so on across the row. So this is knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. And if it's a multiple of 2, that means it's going to end with a purl stitch, which it does. Now on my other piece, it's the same thing. It's knit, purl, so on across the row. And when I line these up, I've got a knit here. This is my selvage stitch over here. And I've got a knit here and a purl here. So that when these two are aligned, I will have a knit next to a purl. And that's what you want. With seed stitch, if you have an uneven number of stitches, that's when you really need to worry. And in the blog entry, and by the way, the blog address, I've been asked to include this, is arendaholiday, one word, .com. And the trick is it has to be spelled correctly. And my name is spelled Arendaholladay. There is not an I in holiday, as some people think there is. All right, so to get started, I'm going to do a figure 8. And I'm going to start my figure 8 in the cast on edge above where I'm going to be seaming, and I'm going to be using the mattress stitch. And I'm going to go in to my cast on edge, and I'm going to go in, if I can, to my cast on edge. And to do a figure 8, that means that I'm going to be coming up from the same place I went in. And there's my figure 8. And I'm going to go ahead, and you always go down into where you came out from before in the mattress stitch. I'm going to go in here, and I am using the horizontal bars between the selvage stitch and the first stitch. Always have a selvage. And I'm going to just consider this, repeat this procedure all the way up. And when I'm done, let's pretend I'm done, I'm going to pull it tight. And there it is. And I have a knit stitch lined up with a purl lined up with a knit with a purl. And it's kind of hard to see in this big clunky yarn with the large needles, but it does in fact work. Now again, if you have an uneven number of stitches that you're trying to use the mattress stitch on, that's not going to work. You're going to have to use that alternate technique, and it's the same technique you would use for a reverse stockinette stitch, where you're using the smile of one stitch and the frown of the other, and I will have photos of that in the blog.